now. And I'll hand over to my colleagues, Michael and Upasana. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Innocent. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Maiko Nakagaki, and I'm a Senior Program Officer here at the ISOC Foundation, and I am based in the US. And then I also have my colleague, Upasana. Upasana, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Upasana Hembram. I'm based in Hyderabad, India, and I'm an Associate Program Officer at the Internet Society Foundation, largely helping manage our research grant portfolio. I'm gonna just walk you quickly through what our agenda is for today's call. So we've broken up the presentation into just giving you introductions about ourselves and also a little bit about the Internet Society Foundation, after which we will give you a brief overview of what the research program and research grant entails. And then we'll delve deeper into what the objectives of the program are, what the areas of focus are within the research program, and what are the selection criteria that we use when we are looking at proposals. And finally, we will open up the room for some Q&A. For those of you who are not familiar with the Internet Society Foundation, here we essentially advance the vision of Internet Society, which is to ensure that the Internet is for everyone. And the way we do that is by funding initiatives that strengthen the Internet, both in function as well as in its reach, so that it can effectively serve communities. And the way we do that is by supporting efforts that ensure that the Internet is open, trustworthy, secure, and globally connected. Now to speak a little bit about the research program. As you all know, the call for proposals is now live, and it will be open till May 14th, 2100 UTC. Within the research grant program, we have two different categories. One is for organizations who can apply for up to $500,000 US, and the second category is for individual researchers who can apply for up to $200,000 US. The duration of the grant is up to the discretion of the applicant. However, the maximum limit that we have for any project is 24 months or 2 years. We use a few eligibility criteria to decide who can actually apply for the research grant. So firstly, we have public research institutions. These would be equivalent to US 501c3 organizations. I will share a link shortly, which has more details on this. And we also offer the research grant to organizations that are aligned with the mission of the Internet Society and Internet Society Foundation, which Michael will be speaking more about. So this is for organizations and institutions. For researchers, we usually accept applicants who either have a postgrad degree, like PhD, master's, a fair number of peer-reviewed publications, or any other sort of pieces that they can demonstrate their research experience. And now over to you, Michael.
Great, thank you, Upasana. So I wanted to go a little bit more in detail around the eligibility requirement, because it gets a little confusing. Public universities in the US and globally are eligible to apply to this grant program. You will be asked to demonstrate by providing either tax information or articles of incorporation of your institution to prove that your university is indeed public. And then for individuals, any individual researchers may apply as themselves. In terms of organizations, because the Internet Society Foundation is a supporting organization of Internet Society, as Upasana mentioned, We do have some criteria in terms of what kind of organizations we can fund to. And so A has to be a nonprofit organization. So what in the US we call 501c3, you must be a public charity. And in addition to that, your organization must have its mission and main activities that relate to these 7 points that are listed. Just so you get an idea. So these 7 points are what the Internet Society does mainly. And for us, we are legally tax abide to provide grants to other organizations doing similar activities and mission alignment. Yes, so I have some chats that I see. Indeed, so private university would not be eligible to apply, unfortunately, for this grant program unless you are partnering with another nonprofit organization that aligns with these mission alignments that are listed in here. So what does that mean? So there's 7 that are pointed here. So in terms of specifics, we support organizations that do research around technical evolution of the internet, focuses on education around the internet. So that may be around digital skills. Promote educational applications of the internet, connecting the unconnected, so expanding internet connectivity, does policy advocacy around making sure that internet is open, free, and equitable, and advancing the internet infrastructure and technologies around the internet. Indeed, NGOs from around the world are eligible, but you will be required to go through a equivalency determination. We hire legal experts to determine if an NGO from a non-US country is applying. They'll have to be determined legally if they are public or not. So in terms of all of those questions, we'll be answering during our Q&A, but I wanted to go forward with the description about the research program itself. So overall, our program has 3 main objectives. One is to promote novel methodologies that generate solutions to internet-related challenges. So in terms of this, we really look for proposals that are different, that have not been already explored by other funders, and that is new to this space. Second, we really like to see collaboration and diversity of research and research institutions. And that may be, researchers from different countries coming together and submitting a more regional or global research project, or experts from different areas coming together to solve an issue together. But indeed, diversity and collaboration is something that we like to see in the application. And then the last part that I wanted to point out is we often get comments from our current grantees that they really appreciate our funding because we not only seek for scientific research and just at the research itself, but we really want to see the application of what will you do with this said research. We really want to see applied the research that you use, the research that you create to be applied. And, you have this vision where you want to use the findings from your research to lead policy advocacy or talk with industries to talk about specific product issues, whatever that may be. But we really want to see that your research has an end goal beyond just producing research. Next slide, please. Great. So within our program, we have 4 focus areas, and your proposal must fit in one of these 4 in order to be considered eligible. So one is around the environment, greening the internet, and examining the environmental footprint and sustainability of the internet itself. The second one is around internet economy, themes around digital economy and how the present ecosystem exists and what the future of the internet can be. The third is one, trustworthiness, looking at how the needs of the users have been met or not. It's a very popular theme that a lot of our applicants apply to. And then the last piece, the last theme that we really care about is around decolonizing. As we think about even the top 3 focus areas, we really want to ensure that those people who may not be at the table creating the internet infrastructure and the coding and whatnot are not left behind. So if there are proposals around how to ensure that the internet stays equitable and meaningful for everyone around the world, it would be great to see that type of research topics. Yes. And then the last point I wanted to raise is how your proposal will be evaluated. So in addition to the eligibility requirement that I have mentioned earlier, we hire external reviewers. These are independent researchers who have, they all have PhDs in internet research, and they will look at your proposal and ask these 5 main questions in terms of, is your research proposal in line with one of our themes? Is your research novel? Is it applied and can inform decision makers? Did you propose something that is collaborative? And is your research intersectional in terms of, is it more, is it looking at different lenses? It's not just a one way. And then the next slide is questions. But yes, again, I just wanted to mention that our proposal period is open from now until May 14th. And then, great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael and Upasana. So we have pretty a number of questions on the chat already. So I guess we'll start with those. So I've been taking note of these questions. And the first question was, can private universities in the US apply? We are a 501c3. Did you get that, Michael?
Yes, yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, so unfortunately, private universities, even the ones that are 501c3, are not eligible to apply. We can only make funding directly to public universities. So if a private university does want to apply, I would encourage you to try to partner with a researcher from a public university.
All right. Second question was, okay, only public university. I think that's pretty the same question. The third one was, there are many private universities in the US that, okay, I think this is still the same question. I'll go to the next. How about a research center which registers as a non-profit foundation? Yeah.
Yes, so research institutions that are registered as a 501c3 may apply, but again, in order to be eligible, I just sent the link around alignment requirements. So if your organization is a 501c3 research institution, we would still ask you, you'll only be eligible if your research institution's main topics are related to the Internet Society. So if you click on the alignment requirements, you can see specifically what that means in terms of how you can determine if your organization's mission statement and activities relate to the Articles of Incorporation of Internet Society.
All right. Local NGOs are eligible. Well, I don't get this clearly. By local NGOs, okay, maybe we can give the floor to this person to just elaborate more on that question. Do you mind taking
they're asking if non-US or NGOs can apply, and yes, indeed, non-US NGOs can apply. Yes.
Okay. Hope that answer is clear for you, Tamim. We can go to the next. Will you be sharing? Yes, absolutely. We'll be sharing these slides with you all later. So who could answer questions? Okay. What's the question? We are an industry group formed as a private company by foundation, but limited from taking profit by the Articles of Incorporation. The rest of our mission is highly aligned. I think this is still an equivalency related question. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
So the question is, I think it's more of like equivalency related. The question is, we are an industry group formed as a private company by foundation, but limited from taking profit by the articles of incorporation. The rest of our mission is highly aligned. I think it's about whether they can actually apply. Yeah.
So it depends. I can't make a judgment call as of now. But if again, I encourage you to read the alignment requirement that site that both myself and Upasana have added in the chats, and read carefully if when you look at your organization and think about what you do, if it aligns with what's listed in there.
All right. We have another question that came from Tamim. I think that was about the process of the equivalency check. I think Mike already answered that. So we can go to the next. Can a state government agency in Nigeria apply for this?
Governments are not allowed to apply because we're a public charity. We can't fund governments, unfortunately.
Okay, the next question from Akin is, can private individuals interested in research on connecting the unconnected apply for grants to undertake such research?
If your theme is, so individuals can apply, yes. And your theme, I mean, if your theme is around connecting the unconnected, that is fine too. But again, it has to also align within those 4 focus areas that we have mentioned before. So I would encourage you to think more deeply about how those are related.
All right, thank you, Michael. The next question came from Quinn. Quinn asked, you refer to the US. What is an equivalence for Kenya or East African Public University?
Upasana, do you want to take that?
It's from
Sure, yeah.
Quinn.
Great. So towards the end of the application, if you're actually selected, we do have a legal team that we work with that will, and also an external agency that we work with that carries out equivalency determination. And that's also valid to public universities that are outside of the US.
All right, thanks, Upasana.
For example, this year we did fund 2 public universities which are not based in the US, and we carried out a separate equivalency determination for them. Yeah.
All right, Aman asked whether private research organizations could be able to apply if they partner with fiscal sponsors. So that was already answered. Yes, Aman. We would go to Paula. Paula asked, can you give us examples of successful projects that got funding from the Internet Society Foundation?
Yes, Upasana, can you share the links? Yeah, so we publicly share the past winners. So Upasana is going to just share with you some of the links.
All right, Paula, you could make use of those links. Thank you. The next question was, how important is it to integrate the MEL framework into the research proposals?
Great question. So when you look at the application, it does ask you around what your MEL, the indicators will be in terms of what you will be tracking. So it is indeed something that we ask you to think about as you're developing your proposal.
All right, thank you, Michael. So the next question was, could you give an example for collaborative in the context of the research? Okay, I think it's, could you give an example for collaboration in the context of the research proposal?
Yeah, I can take that. We usually support organizations that work with other stakeholders as well in the process, or work with communities that are part of different geographies. For example, your collaboration could be between academia and civil society, or between academia and industry, or one of the many permutation combinations. At the same time, if you're an organization based in global north geography, then you could partner with an organization that's based in any of the global south geographies. And also, you could also do global south collaborations. So yeah, there's many permutations and combinations possible, but those are the kind of different collaborations. We also encourage collaborations within the research community, perhaps people who bring in different areas of expertise as well. So the combinations are limitless. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Upasana. The next question was from Jen. Why the discrimination against private universities? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So it's not a discrimination. It's so unfortunately we are legally set up in a way that we can only fund certain type of organizations, and that includes not being able to support private universities because we are a public charity and there are certain rules that we have to abide by.
All right. The next question was from Paula, and it was about eligibility. Which countries are eligible?
We don't have a criteria on countries. I think anybody can apply from like any part of the world.
All right. Next from Andrea. Andrea was asking, can you describe a bit more what is meant by intersectional? Is this across sectors, e.g. civil society and government and education, or rather across academic disciplines or something else?
Yeah, Andrea, so what you mentioned sounds more like collaboration. When we look at intersectional, we try to look at what are the different perspectives that the research project is bringing into. For example, is it looking at it from a gendered lens? Is it looking at it from maybe geographies that do not speak English? Is it looking at it from a lens of perhaps people who are disabled, etc.? So the various kind of communities, I think that is where we're looking for in terms of intersectionality.
All right, I think next I'll take Priya. Priya is raising up the hand, and yeah, I'll take Priya. Then we can go back to
you. Thanks for the helpful presentation. I have many questions, but I will try to limit to two. When you say trustworthy internet, do you also include large language models, stuff on the internet which goes into large language models? So opening that up a little bit to AI ML systems which are using internet data. That's question number one. And question number two, say I want to collaborate with an organization because I have a social entrepreneurship. I'm really keen on applying, and I won't be able to unless I partner with a public organization, right? Or a 501c3. So do all the organizations, the partners, need to have an internet democracy, internet freedom-led manifesto, or just, one organization can focus on internet, and the other organization can bring in expertise on gender or some other intersectional expertise? Thank you.
Sure, I can take that. So in terms of the AI aspect of it, we do fund few projects that look at AI models and are building AI models, but those are mostly, so far they've been in the decolonizing the theme internet, because we feel that the AI space is also like very heavily funded and is not 100% aligned with like the work that Internet Society does. So it's it's dependent on the proposal, honestly, so I won't be able to comment much, but yeah, so far those are the kind of projects that we have funded in the past. And your second question was about collaborating. Yes, if you do end up partnering with an organization that is the primary applicant, then they will have to be mission aligned with the work of Internet Society. That does not necessarily mean working towards internet freedom or internet democracy. It could just, it could cover any of the 7 aspects that Maiko had spoken about in one of the slides. So we'll be sharing the slides again, and that information is available on the website as well. So you can take a look at it and see if any of the organizations that you plan on partnering with, if their mission statement or their activities align with the various criteria that have been mentioned.
Thank you so much, Upasana. That was really helpful.
All right, thank you so much, Upasana. Next, Tamim. Tamim, you can go next.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I already written down my question in the chat box. My question was, my organization is a non-profit organization and it is registered in Bangladesh as a non-profit organization. How should I understand if my organization legally aligned with your that section 501C? Or if not, then how can I apply to check my equivalency or eligibility? Thank you.
Sorry, Tamim. Upasana and Michael, did you pick that? Nope. Tamim, sorry, we couldn't hear you clearly. Maybe you could use the chat and just repeat your question, and we'll get onto it. Yeah, thank you. So I think I'll go back to the chat just for a while, and then I'll take more hands that are raised. We'll go to Nina. Nina was asking, can you elaborate a little more on the 4 focus areas?
Sure, you can actually read about it more on our website around the 4 focus areas. So again, it's around greening the internet, digital economy, internet economy, trustworthiness, and then decolonizing the internet. So whatever proposal you submit, it must be categorized under one of these 4 categories.
All right, yeah. Okay, Nina, please feel free to check those out, and we'll go to Gary. Gary says we didn't mention AI. Is that outside the scope of our 4 focus areas?
Yeah, as I answered previously, it honestly depends on the proposal and what you plan on doing with the AI aspect of your research project. So it's kind of hard to comment on that.
All right. Employees from private universities, can they still apply as independent researchers?
As independent researchers?
Yep.
Yes, yeah, you may apply as independent researchers, but please note, because we've had this issue before, if you apply as an independent researcher, you cannot use your university to administer the grant you receive. You will be solely responsible for administering the grant. And in some cases, it really depends on where you're coming from. Some of our individual researchers pay taxes because it is considered an income in their said country. And in some cases, it is the independent researcher is able to figure out a way where they do not have to be the grant award to be considered a taxable income. But as Internet Society Foundation, we will not be supporting or helping out with any taxes or tax forms. It will be solely up to the independent researcher's responsibility around that.
All right. Thank you, Michael and Upasana. So Anissa had a question on the chat. We are a UK-based research institution and have multiple think tanks. One focused on digital equity and digital inclusion, our entire organization does not focus on the internet, but one think tank does. Do we qualify?
I unfortunately don't have all the information from your organization, so I can't make that judgment call, unfortunately. So yeah, if you think this, your organization does have some alignment, I would encourage you to apply as is. If not, I would try to look for a partner who does.
All right. Claudine asked whether there's a limit on the number of organizations we could partner with for the application.
There is no limit on how many people you collaborate with. However, there can only be one primary applicant or like principal investigator, and the others you would have to list them either as your collaborators or organizations that you are subgranting.
All right, and from Kiza Patrick, do we have a clear guideline or a template of application? Yep, just shared by Upasana there. Patrick, please feel free to check that out. Jessica White, what type of relationship do you aim to have with grantees for the duration of the grant in terms of sparking collaboration, networking, capacity building for growing impact, etc.?
Sure, I can take that question. I really like that question. So at the foundation, we believe that our role is more of a partner, and we see ourselves as like being able to support our grantees in whatever way possible, be it in providing resources, building connections, etc. Within the research grant itself across cohorts, we have kind of built a community of researchers, and we ensure that people can connect with each other. We have quarterly gatherings virtually so that people can share their work, discuss, brainstorm. All of this is facilitated by the foundation. We've also seen in the past where researchers have met on like some of these gatherings and have actually gone ahead to collaborate, which we believe is a success. Yeah, I would say that we try our best to support our grantees in whatever way possible. And the last thing I would add is that we also, because there is also the Internet Society part of the foundation, I think we also try to enable partnerships with our staff and our colleagues who are at the Internet Society, and also in other programs managed by the foundation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Upasana. So the next question from Queen was about the slides. Yes, we'll be sharing those slides, Queen. I think Nina asked about, do you mean that you will send an explanation that is deeper than what was written on the slides? Nina, for more details, like more explanations, I think you just check the links that we've shared. That would give you more information. Thank you. From Tamim, again, my organization is a non-profit organization. Now, how to understand, now what to understand? Okay, I think it's about how do they make sure that they actually understand the 501 3C, and then yeah, I think it's about alignment, which question I think we answered. Yep, so I think we can go to the next. Are transnational collaborations acceptable?
Yes, collaborations across geographies are actually encouraged.
So the next question, I am a researcher from Sense International India, which is a non-profit. So we are working with persons with disability. I think those are deaf and blind people. And we have three communities. They have three communities for children and adults with disability, who are also, some are, I think, educators and parents. So the question is, can they apply for betterment? Because, okay, I don't get exactly what the question is here. Okay. Okay, could you specify on the question, please? I think it's from Shastri. Yeah, Shastri, yeah. So Shastri, if you could please clarify on your question, I would appreciate that. So for now, I'll go to the next question. Gabriel asked whether there is a minimum amount of years of experience an NGO should have in order to apply.
I think Upasana already answered that.
Yep.
Yeah, in the
okay.
chat, so
Alright.
you can
Yeah.
skip it. So there's a few questions around ISOC national chapter and engagement. So yes, if you deem your research would be enriched by collaborating with an ISOC chapter, we would highly encourage you to pursue that. You know, I know that chapter is very different depending on which country you're working with. So if the chapter is interested in some kind of research project with you, I would encourage you to do that as well.
All right. There's a question from Bello. Researchers from different private universities in various disciplines are not encouraged to apply. I think this question was answered. So I'll go to the next. Can the same organization submit more than one proposal?
Yes, you may apply for more than one proposal, yes.
All right. The next question, can you elaborate more on the equivalency check? We are an NGO in South
I
Africa.
answered that, Innocent, so don't worry.
Yeah. Oh,
We can
all
skip
right.
to the next one. Yeah.
I missed that. So I think I'll go to the hands raised. Patrick, can we take from Patrick?
Yeah, thanks to the team. My question was just centering on individuals who would like to apply for the grant. What would be the probably the basis of evaluation for them? Like, do they need to have a specific kind of experience and the requirements? Because I've seen for the organizations, they need to submit the legally registered account numbers, the legal registered names, and all that. So what would be the case for individuals who would like to apply for this grant? Thank you, Innocent.
Sure, I can answer that, Patrick. So independent researchers, so we look for independent researchers who have a postgraduate degree, either a master's or a PhD. And in addition to that, we ask you to show proof that you have peer-reviewed publications, academic papers, or published work that's relevant to the proposal that you submit. So because if you are an organization, you can demonstrate the history of what you have done. As an individual, we will ask you to do the same, either submitting your CV as a supplemental thing, or maybe your past peer-reviewed publications, something to prove your credibility as a researcher.
All right, thanks for Michael. So Emil asked a question. I think Emil was asking about, is there any quota for the funded projects regarding the country? I think Michael shared a link. So Emil, kindly make use of that. You mentioned about independent research grants as well. How many independent research fellowships will you be funding?
We don't have a quota as of yet. It honestly depends on the strength and the kind of other applications and proposals you're up against. So yeah, we don't know how many as of now.
Okay, so I think I'll go to Claudine. Claudine, your hand is raised up, so you can take the
Yes.
floor. Yep.
Thanks. I just have a question about the sort of length and level of basically the length and level of detail that you're expecting in the application.
We don't have a word limit yet. We feel it's up to the discretion of the applicant as to what they feel best. If you think you would like to put in a lot of like detail into your application and speak in length about it, that's cool. And if you think that you can summarize it and it captures your project in all of its entirety in like far fewer words, then that is also cool. But yeah, my suggestion would be to make sure that your application captures all of the things that you want to communicate about your project and what you want to do. So yeah, we don't have any word limit as of now.
All
Okay,
right,
thank you.
over to you, Queen.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for the information. I'd really waited to hear from this webinar. I'm so much an internet society enthusiast. Currently in the US public university at Michigan State. And so currently I'm working on a project on Kenyan indigenous languages, particularly a couple of them. And what we are doing is building language corpora with end results of populating the internet with through common Mozilla Voices. We partnered with them, and because a lot of these languages are going to extinct, so I'm just wondering, these languages are spoken in Kenya. I'm a Kenyan, and so I'm wondering does this fall in any of those four categories, so that the four focus areas? And then two, in terms of partnership, I know from the US I do qualify because this university where I'm currently based is public, but I would want to collaborate with a couple of other colleagues who are currently professors in Kenyan universities. Is that something that is doable? And then the last one, what has been the probability of success rates of East African, grant proposal applications that have gone through the Internet Society funding in the past?
Thank you so much, Quinn. Those are great questions. So your first question, I think your research topic sounds most similar to the decolonizing the internet theme. So I would encourage you to read about that category and consider to apply under that. We actually have other current grantees focused on something similar in terms of indigenous languages. So that's not a new topic for us. So that's encouraged to apply. Second, yes, so we do also have examples of US universities collaborating with universities from other countries. So that is something that you can explore. We would be happy to read applications like that. I would encourage you, if that is the case, for your US public university to be the main applicant, and for you to describe the other universities as your collaborator. And if they are a collaborator, they do not have to be quote unquote eligible from our perspective, because our main contact would be University of Michigan, for instance. So that would be fine. And then in terms of your last question, we don't have statistics around, where our grantees have, like which regions our grantees have come from. But I mean, we had a research grantee gathering last year in Kampala, and then we brought around, I don't know, Innocent, I know you were there. I don't know how many people came, but we have a sizable number of grantees from East Africa region itself. So, I would still encourage you to apply because it is a topic that we, in the region, that we care about.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Well, so the workshop had around 12 researchers. Yep, both from organizations, and there were 2 independent researchers here, and they're all from around the region, yeah. So I think go to Sigi. Does ISOC require independent researchers to collaborate with other independent researchers, or can one submit a solo? I think this is already answered, so I think I'll just go to the next. My collaborators are professors, and the PhD candidate, are from public universities in different countries. Should we apply through one of the universities or individually? If applying through a university, who should register on Flux? Researchers or someone like HR?
So it's up to you actually, whether you would like to apply as a university or as an individual researcher. But as Maiko mentioned, if you are applying as an individual researcher, all of the money will be administered through your personal bank account, and any income tax, etc., that is applicable in your country on the funds that will be dispersed to you will be applicable. If you apply as a university, it will be administered through the university. In terms of who can register on Flux, I would say whoever will be submitting the application. So if it's your grant department, they can do it, or if you as a PI want to submit it directly, then you can register in Flux as well. And yeah, so you can also, there is a provision within the Flux application to add additional contacts. So if you would like somebody else to also have access to the application, then you can write their contact information as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Upasana. So I think this will be like our last question because the rest are really responded to on the chat. So when submitting the financial proposal, okay, or as independent researcher, what allocation criteria does ISOC rely on?
I don't think I 100% follow the question, but as of now, we don't have like a specific criteria of how much percentage of your budget goes to which category. I would just say that we have one thing where the indirect cost cannot be more than 20% of your direct costs that you propose in the budget. Yeah, other than that, we don't have any other like rigid criteria.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Upasana. So the rest of the questions really about period of grant, which is answered. Maximum is 24 months. And then is collaboration with ISOC national chapters acceptable? Definitely yes. There's a comment on overall probability of success will still be helpful to know. Yeah, that's noted. So Lawrence, okay, Lawrence, your question is also responded to. You can just check the eligibility criteria via the link. And then lastly, can individual researchers partners with okay, what's the question? Can individual researchers partner with another organization for research? Yes, that's answer two. Thank you so much, Aurora. So lastly, I think I'll share our email address here for you to be able to reach out in case you have further questions. That is foundation@isocfoundation.org. So in case you have any further questions, you can just reach out to that email address. Sorry, Upasana, if you could help me. Okay, yeah, sure. There you go. Yeah, thank you so much, Upasana. So I think we're done with all the questions. I hope everyone has gotten pretty a lot of information that they would need through the applications. We encourage you to apply, and we also still notify you that we have a session for if you have any colleagues that would need interpretation. We have a session on 11th, just this week, so they can be able to join that call. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining this session. It's been a pleasure. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day and evening and a week ahead. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining.